Well, I want to get to the questions, but I did think we should wrap up with the idea of mortality, the ephemerality of life.
It's a good way to end.
As we come to the end of the talk,
Yeah.
I've been fiddling with this memento mori ring. It's sort of the one of the reminders that I have, this sort of physical touch. I think it's so interesting. Like in the ancient world, death was everywhere, right? Nobody died in a clean hospital down the street, you know? Nobody, very few people lived all the way to, you know, old age. Infant mortality was high. The average lifespan was shorter. People died in plagues and in accidents of small cuts.
And then anytime you were eating animals, you saw the blood in front of you. You were cutting that chicken's head right out in front of you. You saw the blood oozing out.
Yeah, even warfare, it's not you're shooting an artillery shell 6 miles away.
You're stabbing right in front
and then
of you.
you're ripping the sword out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a gruesome world. And yet, it was the ancient world that needed, for some reason, to have these reminders of memento mori, that life is short, that you could go at any moment, that you're not invincible. The irony is we're the ones that need the reminders because we have the evidence that you are going to live longer. We have the actuary tables. We have when somebody, the slightest sign of sickness, they're taken away, and you're just not seeing it. And so I just think it's so interesting that the people who need it most are the most out of touch with the fundamental fact of their existence.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot lately because, as you know, I came very close to dying myself. I had a near-death experience. So I've been thinking about it a lot lately and trying to recreate what actually happened and what I could learn from it. And I decided that it's not so much death that's so interesting to look at. It's dying itself, the process of dying. Everybody who dies, obviously, if they don't die suddenly, they go through several weeks and they have to go through that. And there are people like myself who come back from the dead, literally, right? And so what does it mean to actually feel like you're dying? Are we going over time? Am I dying right now?
You're good.
All right. Okay. And so, I think about that moment. So I was driving here in Los Angeles. Anna was in the car seat next to me, and she sees something really odd going on, and she's forcing me to pull over. I go, no, everything's fine. And then suddenly, I'm getting out of the car, and I'm doing all sorts of strange things. And my whole sense of time and space is shifting. It's distorting. I don't know where I am. And what seems to be 15 minutes of me doing things is actually 2 minutes, which she tells me. And then the next thing I know is I'm unconscious, right? And I could have easily been dead at that point. And if I'm dead, obviously I'm not here. And, it's not a bad way to die. You just go to sleep and that's it. It's not painful at all. Having a stroke isn't painful, generally speaking. Your blood stops flowing to your brain and you go, you're unconscious, right? And then I wake up and I'm in a gurney with other gurneys piled on top of me. And I went, what the hell just happened to me? Am I actually dead right now? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And for a moment, I'm kind of looking at myself from up above the sky, and I'm looking down at my grave, and my mother and Anna are there kind of talking about me. And I have this sense, well, I died, but that's all right. Life goes on, etc.
Not for you.
Huh?
Doesn't go on for you.
No, it doesn't go on for me. It goes on for them.
Yeah.
But what wakes me up is I have to pee with incredible, and then I'm alive, all right? I haven't died. And for some reason, I start yelling in Spanish. I'm yelling, suéltame, suéltame, por favor, no puedo respirar, tengo que orinar, etc., etc. I don't know why. I'm my brain has been, a bit jumbled up, so to speak, all right? And then the next few days, I'm joking with everybody, and people don't understand. I'm euphoric, right? And then, of course, a week later, I realized, no, I'm a cripple. it's the worst thing that happened to me, but I was like giddy for that first week. And when I think about it, it teaches me something very elemental. So our idea of who we are, of the place we live in, our whole reality, it depends on our brains. Our brains construct this world for us that we take completely for granted. We don't realize that it's actually a construction. And when your brain goes haywire, like it did for me, because I have a blood clot and blood isn't flowing to it, it's all an illusion. The self is an illusion. You don't actually have an ego. You don't have a self. Space and time don't really exist. They're this kind of weird, distorted mirror that we live through, but they don't actually exist. And then the most amazing thing of all is I'm alive. And I carry that with me now, and I go, it is so strange to be alive. Do you understand how strange it is to be alive? You have to understand that by first being nearly dead. But just to be conscious, just to be aware, just to realize that I'm here talking to Ryan Holiday with, 900,000 people here is absolutely insane. History is insane. Automobiles are insane. Birds and cats are insane.
The sheer probability of any of this existing is incomprehensible.
Yeah. And it just made me so aware of that every single moment of my life. And I have a chapter in my new book, Awaken to the Strangeness of Being Alive. And so we should listen to these people who have these amazing stories coming back. I'm cataloging them and I'll be writing about them in my new book. But dying teaches us so much about how our life is actually an illusion, it's a construction, and that there's something else out there.
Don't you sometimes wear the shirt as a reminder, the shirt that the paramedics
do?
Yeah.
So when the paramedics came, I was wearing this new shirt that Anna had got me for my birthday, and I loved it. It was this plaid shirt, and I wore it all the time. They came and they ripped it off and they cut it and shredded it in scissors, right?
To get to your heart, or
to be able to get rid of the blood clot. And 8 months later, I asked Anna, "Where's that shirt? I love that shirt." And she told me the pathetic story of my favorite shirt. And she said, "Well, they actually gave it to me in a bag when you left the hospital." I go, "Where's that bag?" She brought it to me, she pulled it out, and it was in these pieces. And I go, "Could you please sew that back together again? I want to wear that shirt." Speaking of memento mori, and I wear it now all the time. And it's got these Frankenstein stitches across it. But hell, it looks very fashionable, And I wear that shirt with pride.
And it's a reminder to you. What's so interesting is you have this powerful, overwhelming experience, but with time, I imagine it fades a little, and you have to have things that bring you back to it, that connect you to the urgency of that experience.
It fades, but it doesn't really fade. So I constantly dream about it. I had a feeling in my bones like life was sucking its way out of me and all the blood was leaving me and my bones were getting soft. I still have that feeling. I still have a visceral connection to death, And yes, it's faded. But you try spending 5 minutes tying your shoes every morning and you're reminded of that experience very graphically every moment of your life.
Well, that's beautiful. It's haunting. Beautiful also. So every day, totally free, we send out the Daily Stoic email. It's the largest community of Stoics ever assembled in human history. And just one Stoic idea, one ancient lesson to chew on every single day. I'd love to have you join us. If you like our videos, I think you'll like the email. It's also a podcast version of it too. You can sign up at dailystoic.com/email.